Day, what's going on, Marianas? Welcome to another segment of Saipan Supplemental Gardening, where we share what we know and what we do to help you start your own garden. In today's segment, we're going to be talking about amending soil. Now, after you're done planting, for the most part, the soil nutrients are all used up by the plants that you had previously. What you want to do is you want to add those nutrients back and find a way for that soil to continue producing more of those nutrients. We're going to go over some of the tips that you guys can do for your soil amendments, and some of the things that you can buy, and some of the things that you guys can make at home. All right, so first off, once you have your soil all used up, for the most part, it's still viable. You can still plant other things in it, but it's not a good idea to plant the same thing over again. So for example, if I was planting tomatoes in this bed, and I harvested all my tomatoes, and I was to start again, planting tomatoes again would not be a very good idea. Why? Because the nutrients that the tomatoes require were all used up already. So if you were to replant tomatoes again in the same bed without doing anything to your soil will not have the nutrients necessary for your plants to thrive. And again, the main nutrients that all plants need is NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Having the correct balance for your plant is very important. And again, do all plants have the same requirements? No, they don't. That's something that we can do in another segment in regards to what plants require, because that's a whole topic in itself. However, the one thing that you need to know is once you start amending that soil, then you can possibly replant tomatoes all over again, as long as you know exactly what it is that you need to add. And that's the tricky part. So for the simple basics we're going to show you, it's real easy. All you have to do is take your regular potting soil, or your soil, your ground soil, your pot soil, wherever it is that you're planting, add a little more to it. One thing you can add would be just regular old potting soil. Regular old potting soil, for the most part, is a combination of all kinds of stuff that companies put together. And again, how good is it? I don't know. I can't tell you that, oh, this is the best topsoil that you ever... I can't. All I do know is that it is really good to add it to as an amendment, because of the fact that it does have a lot of carbon parts, carbon material, dried wood, dried twigs, leaves, broken up leaves. It also has a few pebbles in it. And again, what does that all have to do? It helps with the looseness of your soil. Okay, as long as your soil is loose and it's able to let water go through it, then that's a good thing for your plants. All right, another thing that you guys can be adding would be steer manure. And no, I'm not putting my hand in the bag because ew. But steer manure is basically a manure blend. What it is they'll combine all the manure in a big pile out in the open. They'll let rain and water go through it. One, to wash away the acidity of the manure, and two, to help it decompose. And by doing so, what happens is all that extra acid and whatnot goes through the ground. All right, so once all that acidity has been washed out, that manure is now fully composted and ready to use in soil. So by mixing it in, you're adding a lot of the nutrients that are in the manure blend, and that helps to give the soil back the nutrients that it was already used up. Now, for the most part, the best thing you can do for your soil is to bring back microorganisms. Microorganism life within your soil really helps to add to the nutrient value. What happens is, as those micronutrients eat up through the soil and decompose further the things that weren't broken down, they begin to basically poop in your soil. And that fresh manure being produced by these microorganisms, which we think is very small and probably not even useful, they actually are very important to your plant, because the roots are able to absorb what they process even faster. So having microorganism life within your soil is very, very important, and it's the best way that you can help your plant. You can add all the other chemicals and all kinds of other things that you want to add to in place of fertilizer. It's not really going to be as helpful for your plant. And again, you want to try and stay as organic as possible. And I don't want to introduce a whole idea of using fertilizers to revitalize your soil. Let's try to keep it simple where you can find stuff around your yard, around your home, and actually recycle some of the stuff that you need. So how do we help bring back microorganism life? Very simple. One is by mulching. Mulching is using all kinds of materials: grass, leaves, wood bark, wood chips, all kinds of broken down material that you can use as a carpet around your plant. So for instance, if your plant is in the center of your bed, you want to put a whole bunch of broken leaves and twigs and cut grass all around the sides. Again, you don't want it to be touching the stem of your plant. You want it away from your plant, but at least a 1 or 2 inch layer thick, or a 1 or 2 inch thick layer of mulch. Mulch is real simple to do. You could use regular leaves. These are just mango leaves, papaya leaves that we cut up. And one way to do it is put all your leaves down on the ground and run your mower over it. And then, pick up all the crap that gets chopped up. Now, by putting this around your soil, you're able to keep the moisture in your soil. It helps to retain moisture. So on a hot day like we've been having lately, what happens is when you water your plants, that water that goes under the mulch has a harder time to reach the surface and evaporate and get wasted. So the mulch helps to keep the water down. What's also happening is that layer of mulch that is in contact with the soil is beginning to get decomposed by all those microorganisms that live there. They'll start eating through those leaves and using that new layer of mulch as food. And that food will slowly be incorporated into soil, which goes right back into your soil. All right? So again, mulch, amendments, things that are real simple to do. One of my favorite amendments is worm castings. Worm castings is basically taking what naturally happens and speeding it up. So in the States, and I hope we do it here soon, but in the States they have worm farms. And these worm farms carry a whole bunch of red wiggler worms, and in a table they'll have thousands, and they'll throw in a whole sack of manure, a whole sack of composted leaves, and they'll let the worms eat through it. And when the worms are done, they'll poop all of that out. And when that gets dried, you get worm castings. Okay? So again, keeping it simple, keeping it natural, as organic as possible. And again, that word organic can take up an entire segment on its own. It's something that can be discussed in detail and will take a long time. But keeping it simple and keeping it organic as much as possible would be the best solution for you. You don't want to get carried away. And I know some people have red clay soil. I was asked previously on some of the comments, how do I amend my clay soil? Again, clay soil is basically soil that's just been wiped out of all its nutrients and is now the remnants of what used to be really nice, good soil. You can revitalize that. And again, it's about bringing in more organic material to try to have it mix up with your clay soil. And in time, you will notice your clay soil will begin to change. It will start getting more pliable. Drainage becomes a lot better, and the nutrient value of your soil becomes so much better. And you see it in your plants. And there are also other plants that you can use to help amend your soil naturally. And we can cover that in a whole different segment that gets a little bit deeper. So again, working with your soil and amending your soil doesn't require a whole scientific process. Keeping it simple will really work. Okay? Use as much organic material that you can add back into your soil. And again, because you already have a set amount of soil, you can't really add too much. So add just the right amounts on the surface layer so that they can be incorporated into your soil as time goes by. And those are the nutrients that your plants are going to need. With mulch, vermicompost or worm castings, potting soil, and manure, you can amend almost any soil that you've been using, whether it's potting or in the ground. Again, we hope that this is helpful. We hope that some of the things that we share with you today might help you in your garden experience. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to comment below the video. And if you can, please like and subscribe to our channel. That will really help our channel grow, and we really appreciate it. All right, so without any further ado, I'd like to thank you for joining us again. Stay safe, Marianas, and I'll see you next time. You have to hold the camera because it's gonna be wobbling in the wind.
No, it's not.
I've been watching it wobble in the wind.
It's recording. And it's wobbling.
Just hold it in place. I already got the stand.
Okay.
Ready?
Kitties.
Damn it. I don't like that boy.